I have to be so careful about how I talk about this drama because anytime that I discuss anything that Destiny is related to, there's like an entire army of scholars from like the Destiny subreddit that come to that they'll either make posts about me on his subreddit or they'll post in my comments or whatever, but there'll be like Destiny lore scholars that'll come along and they'll like get super fucking mad at you if you get a single detail wrong. So with that said, we're going to try to not get a single detail wrong in this drama recap. So let's go ahead and get right on into it, okay? Where'd this all start? Well, my understanding of things goes back to the Ana drama, okay? For those of you guys that don't know, Ana Frills, and I know very little about this drama other than literally everybody who has more than 2 brain cells who's talked about the Ana Frills drama has said that Ana Frills is an abusive, crazy motherfucker, and that Destiny is like in a abusive stalker type dynamic with that person where they're being pursued, where Destiny's being pursued. So that is like, I think what started this, to be very clear. I'm going to explain why. For those of you guys that don't know, basically Ana Frills is this girl that Destiny, I guess, decided to fuck, and then she got really obsessive, and turns out she's got some mental health issues, and it's led to some pretty bad stuff in the last couple years. Ana Frills recently accused Destiny of being creepy about condom usage. Or I guess retroactively did about a previous event. I don't know how recently this was because the implication of the conversation when I watched it, this is one of the very few Destiny Ana like lore things that I've actually like taken interest in and watched, and it was a recent video. And apparently what had happened was Destiny was discussing on stream condom usage and how he's like, yeah, condoms are pretty uncomfortable. I don't really like using them if I don't have to. It was like nothing all that problematic on Destiny's end. And then apparently that conversation with Ana, because Ana was going to be a potential sex partner to Destiny, I guess, or a sexual partner to Destiny, that conversation ended up continuing in DMs. Ana messaged Destiny in DMs, and they started talking. And Destiny said, yeah, I'm just not really I don't like using condoms. And Ana viewed that as being really creepy, the idea that he didn't want to use condoms. Or that he doesn't like using condoms. Like, he wasn't saying, like, oh, can we please not use a condom, or I won't have sex with a girl unless she doesn't want to use a condom, or anything like that. He was just saying, I personally don't think condoms feel as nice as unprotected sex. And he's right, because condoms don't feel as nice as unprotected sex, though they can. They can feel pretty close. Just not as good. So that was basically what spurned this drama, at least in my mind, because it is like it is the only thing that Destiny has talked about related to this, I feel like, where he's had a strong take on it, and it was recent. So I feel like it's probably related. So I feel it's relevant to bring up. Anna just kept saying you're supposed to use condoms, and then on stream she said she doesn't use them. Yeah, Anna is the type of person who will listen, Anna's got severe mental health issues, okay? And let's just say it's led her to engage in some behavior that is perhaps a little bit unsavory towards Destiny. Behavior that, regardless of whether or not you dislike Destiny or not, is absolutely worth, saying is not acceptable, because we shouldn't encourage abusers, regardless of who's the victim of abuse, right? Even if we don't like them or even if we disagree with them. With that said, though, here's where Destiny gets a little bit sussy-wussy in this whole drama, okay? So basically, a little while later, or probably a long while later, I actually don't know whether or not that original condom convo, the one where Anna lost her mind prior to the more recent convo that I watched, I don't know if that happened like a year ago, back when Destiny and her were on somewhat good terms or whatever, but fast forward a bit, and this tweet a few days ago gets released by somebody who follows me, and I follow them. A dude slipped his condom off during sex after I asked him to wear one this week, and it's been bothering me. But I was too awkward to say anything. Not even the first time this has happened. Stop doing this, men. Okay, I wasn't thinking about it as sexual assault, even though it clearly is when I tweeted it, but I really don't feel like going through the extreme anxiety of filing a police report. This was the original tweet, okay? This tweet is what started all of it. This Ophelin individual's tweet is what caused all of it. So then Mindwaves, fellow streamer and YouTuber, decided to quote tweet that tweet in probably the scummiest act I've ever seen, to the point where I don't even know why I still follow Mind Waves after he did this, because there's just really no defense for this statement. There just is not one. If you knew he took off the condom and you couldn't even bring yourself to say anything, you shouldn't be having casual sex. Now, what was described here by the person in question, why can't I backspace to the, there we go. What is being described here is something called stealthing, or at least it seems that way. Stealthing, as I understand it, is the practice of generally when a man and a woman are about to engage in a sexual encounter, and the woman says, hey, no sex without a condom, and you're like, oh yeah, sure, no sex without a condom, and then like halfway through or something, when you think she won't notice, you slip the condom off, right? That's what stealthing is, and it's rape. It's rape. It's rape. It actually is rape, okay? And I'm gonna make that very clear. Consent can only be given if both parties, upon giving consent to each other to engage in sexual contact, are fully aware of the consequences of their sexual encounter, within reason, of course, right? So, for example, if sex is agreed to only on the condition of the man wears a condom during it, and that guy takes off the condom and continues to have sex, that is no longer consensual sex, because the boundaries of that consent have now been impeded upon. They've been walked upon. They've been broken. You've broken those boundaries, right? This is rape. This is sexual assault. This is not defensible. Now, for all I know, the dude in question in this story could have been like, oh, she seems pretty into it. Maybe she'll be okay with me now if I take the condom off, because she realizes that it actually feels better without the condom, you know? And, you know, the second we start resuming and she realizes what's like without the condom, she'll realize how much better it is. There are plenty of guys who think that way. Here's the problem, though. It's still rape. Regardless of whether or not the guy doing it thought that they were, you know, doing like a you know, something that wasn't as big of a deal, it's still rape. We designate what is and what isn't rape, or what is or isn't a traumatic event for somebody based on the effect it has on them, right? Obviously, we draw certain lines where, like, if someone saying hi to another person in public causes them serious mental distress, we aren't going to arrest the person who said hi to another person in public. But obviously, this is not a consensual sexual encounter, okay? And if a barrier has already been set, if a boundary prior to sex has already been set, such as we aren't having sex if the condom isn't on, and the dude then knowingly slips it off, that is an active, possibly malicious breaking of previously set boundaries. And this is not a consensual sexual encounter at all. In this encounter alone, from what we have seen here alone, nothing that this individual did is wrong. Like, what here is deserving of a quote tweet that warrants, like, hate comments and shit? Like, there's nothing here like that. But of course, Mindwaves decided to quote tweet it for some fucking reason. I don't know what he was thinking there. And this resulted in discourse. This resulted in massive fucking discourse. You got know nothing here. Quote tweeting someone who is opening up about being sexually assaulted to put the blame on them is pretty fucked up. Literally not saying it's their fault. It happened. Ooh. If you knew he took off the condom and you couldn't even bring yourself to say anything, you shouldn't be having casual sex. So a response. So this is okay. So what we have here is a woman has posted on Twitter talking about her sexual assault experience. This guy comes along and quote tweets it and says, if you knew he did that thing and you couldn't say anything, then you just shouldn't be having casual sex. This is literally victim blaming. As a matter of fact, it's so perfectly an example of victim blaming that people started like just replacing single words of the tweet with like other words to make it sound exactly like classic examples of like victim blaming behavior. If you knew you could be raped and you couldn't even bring yourself to fight back, you shouldn't be going outside. If you knew that a rape was a thing that could happen, and you couldn't even bring yourself to dress in something less revealing, then you shouldn't be wearing revealing clothing. You shouldn't be going out in public if you're going to wear... By the way, that's shit, okay? Wearing revealing clothing doesn't make you more likely to be raped, okay? It's not how rape works, okay? But Nonetheless, it's a very common talking point by those that like to victim blame women who have been victims of rape and sexual assault. They very often like to say, you shouldn't have worn something so revealing. Now, unfortunately, Destiny gets involved in the drama from here. And Destiny has been on a little bit of a tweet deleting spree. I tried to get my chat to provide me as many screenshots of Destiny's tweets during all of this as possible, but over the last day or two, Destiny has only you can prevent rape. True. Yes. By the way, literally, how the fuck do you blame somebody for someone else doing a bad thing to them, and them not having the power to push back against that bad thing being done with them? This is victim blaming, definitionally speaking, okay? Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'm sorry. Openly burning the bridge with mind waves, okay? I'm not friends with people who victim blame, like, sexual assault survivors, okay? It's just not a thing that I do. Go fuck yourself, dude. Anyway, with that said, I found the Denims tweet. Oh, you found a screenshot of... Yeah, so here's an example of... here's an example of a tweet that Destiny did following this drama. Basically, Destiny is on the side of mind waves, for those of you guys that aren't aware. Destiny is of the opinion that if you cannot protect yourself to a certain threshold as a potential victim of sexual violence, then I guess then you should be somewhat aware of that, and thus should take certain precautions not to get into those situations. Now, the way I worded it sounds super reasonable. Let me word it how Destiny worded it. I'm about to get banned from Twitch. Actually, I'm not on Twitch today. That's good. Anyway, let me paraphrase it as best I can from Destiny, because if I paraphrased it, I get canceled. If this is a quote, okay? This is a paraphrased quote more or less from Destiny. If you are too much of an R-slurred fucking child to voice to somebody during a sexual encounter, they're doing something you don't like, then you probably just shouldn't be having any casual sex. Because you're basically just a child, and I feel like I'm raping you if I ever have any sexual encounter with you. That was, I believe, a fairly accurate recreation of his take. Let's go ahead and take a good long look at some of the indefensible, disgusting shit that Destiny then proceeded to tweet having to do with sexual assault and rape. So a lot of these tweets are now deleted and taken down. The vast majority of these tweets actually are now deleted and taken down, and you can't actually see them anymore. So we're looking at them on the Wayback Machine. I'm sure you can also find screenshots, or if you yourself want to see these tweets are real, you can go on the Wayback Machine, look up Destiny's Twitter account, The Omniliberal, and you can go ahead and take a look for yourselves. Destiny ended up debating Hans about this, okay? There was a debate. There we go. So basically, Destiny and Hans ended up having a debate having to do with the this drama, and the person who Mindwaves originally quote tweeted, who Destiny has also continued to target, also gave their thoughts on it. Maybe when men are laughing at me literally being raped and referring to me as the person who is an R-slurred child, it's time I logged off for good. If we go back one, Destiny then quote tweeted that tweet and said, "See ya." And then Know Nothing responded, "What the fuck, dude? I understand going after small accounts that start up with you, but literally all she did was open up about being sexually assaulted. I don't understand how that culminated in you laughing about her rape, but the least you can do is apologize, not whatever the fuck this is. You spent like a day talking about her situation. She's made it very clear that she doesn't want you to, and it turns out that pretty much everything you said about her was based on a misunderstanding of her original tweet. She could log off or block him. Like, holy shit, dude. This is like that Tyler, the Creator cyberbullying meme, lol." Dude, this is a large public figure victim blaming a rape victim, okay? Like, this isn't just a, oh, she can just block the person situation. This is an, oh, maybe we all as online figures who recognize Destiny as one of our peers, maybe we ought to have a long, hard think about his behavior if this is the level of spitefulness that he's reached. And this is a very perfect argument from Know Nothing, by the way, because Destiny's best argument for his behavior on Twitter has always been generally that either he's going after people who are publicly posting on a platform with takes that he disagrees with, so he can publicly disagree with them, or people are shit-talking him, and so he's just retaliating, and you're allowed to be bigger and stronger than your opponent. This is a perfect argument against Destiny. This is like an argument towards Destiny from and Know Nothing's a DGGer, okay? Know Nothing is, I'm pretty sure, like a fairly like I'm pretty sure he's a pretty like big Destiny. Yeah, literally number one reply guy, Destiny. Literally quote in his bio. This is from a DGGer towards Destiny. This is not a bad faith, low effort, low information, or bad faith motivated attack on Destiny. This is a genuine attempt on Know Nothing to try to save Destiny. He is like, this is the most reasonable Destiny orbiter I've ever met, and he's trying so hard to give Destiny an out here, and then this is Destiny's response. Are you guys ready to see this? Real talk, opening up about your rape, both those in quotes, by the way, and shit on Twitter is incredibly fucking weird and should have never been normalized. I have no idea why the fuck people encourage others to trauma dump on social media. It's insanely unhealthy. Notice how this is so far from a valid response to what Know Nothing said. So far out of reality from a even close to a response to what he said. This is directly attacking Destiny's constant defense for his Twitter behavior. Destiny's constant defense for his Twitter behavior is always, well, they first threw the first stone, so I get to go back at them, or someone had a dumb take and they posted it publicly, so I can go after them. This was just somebody venting about like something they went through, not adding anybody, not talking about anybody. And that's what started all of this. This nobody who's locked their, not a nobody, but someone who's not a public figure, who's locked their account now on Twitter, who is going through all this shit from some random large figure that they never interacted with once, or even know, well, they probably knew they existed, but never interacted with once prior to this, as far as I'm aware. It's bizarre. The derangement goes even further, too. It gets even wilder. So Denims dropped a tweet in reply and said, if your first response, or just tweeted, if your first response to somebody being stealthed is to blame them for not fighting back enough, you are not normal. Your priorities are evident to all those around you. When a woman should not have to ask multiple times for you to keep a condom on, which is true. It should not have to be like in a sexual encounter. If one party is pushing the other party's boundaries, the party that's pushing the boundaries is in the wrong, okay? And before the incels find this, allow me to clarify, since I know you people can't think critically, I'm aware that no one is saying stealthing is good. I'm pointing out the reality that all the people attacking the victim in this situation are only bringing up what she could have done. Very good tweet from Denims. And then Destiny quote tweets it with an event that I want to remind you all, by the way, an event that happened back in very early 2019, okay? So we're talking really early 2019 that this happened, and Destiny's lying. So let's go ahead and get into this one. So he quote tweets Denims and says, super rich that a person who cheated on their boyfriend by letting a fan of mine into my apartment without my permission and fucked them on my bed for 12 hours is trying to give anyone advice on consent or healthy sexual interactions. Keep the virtue signaling up. Show the Jangles tweet. Oh yeah! Oh god. The murder. Dude, Jangles fucking murdered Destiny with this tweet. Oh my god. Jangles' response was, did you explicitly tell her not to do that multiple times? Maybe you're not mature enough for an apartment. So here's another tweet that Destiny did. I'm just going through all these deleted tweets now because he's deleted a lot of them. He's been tweeting about it nonstop for the last couple days. She literally said it felt awkward, in quotes, to watch a guy stealth her, in quotes. Just voice an opinion. Have a little bit of agency over your life. You don't have to be a victim all the time, and you sure as fuck can't expect to be treated like an adult if you won't act like one. So if we go back to the original tweet again, because once again, I feel like it's important that we always go back and look at the original tweet just to remind ourselves at just how little of a problem this tweet was, just how inconsequential, how inoffensive, how lacking of any harm on the world or on discourse this tweet contributed to, just to compare the disproportionate response from Destiny and his audience. I really feel like it's important to keep pointing that out. She even says, I wasn't thinking about it as sexual assault at the time, even though it clearly is when I tweeted it, but I don't feel like going through the extreme anxiety of filing out a police report. Like, clearly, all she did was say that she felt awkward. She just felt too awkward to say anything, and it made her feel uncomfortable, and that she recognizes it is sexual assault to do that, though she doesn't want to go through the anxiety of getting a police report filed. That's all she did. And this massive fucking discourse is the response to it. So this is Hans of Harkir and Destiny debating on this topic.
I think this is from the person who is the retarded child. They said, "I've actually been raped," and saying, "No, just made him rape me harder." I know that's what happened after he pulled out. This is not incomprehensible that I would just walk away from the situation.
It sounds like she needs to stop having casual sex. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to to say.
Come on,
Like,
do that.
I'm sorry. No, this shit is fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry. Get the fuck out of here with this stupid fucking shit. Like, every single time I walk anywhere, I'm just getting raped 50 million fucking times. Then stop either find different people to fuck, stop fucking the same rapist over and over again, or stop having casual sex.
It happened with 3 different people.
Then stop having casual sex. I'm sorry. Like, holy shit, what the fuck? Why would you subject yourself to this over and over and over again? Why would you do this?
It happens one time. Is that person a retarded child too? I just want to
No, but I think like by 3 or 4, if you haven't figured out like how the fuck to get your shit in line, you should probably stop having casual sex.
What does get your shit in line mean? Because one of the examples used was like full on rape, like, and it was described, then raped me harder. So the implication is it's not like stealthing or like something that's like wrong, but not like we're talking like Law and Order SVU opening scene full on rape. Okay, what could she have done to avoid the Law and Order SVU opening scene actual rape? Destiny, what could she have done to get her shit together there, dog? I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess we could all literally be Vi from Arcane, you know? If literally every person on Earth worked out and trained to fight as hard as Vi from Arcane, then maybe then we wouldn't really, or I guess women actually, if every woman worked out as hard as Vi from Arcane, maybe then there'd be a much less worry about women feeling pressured and intimidated into being too afraid to say no. But as long as most dudes tend to be able to physically overpower women and most sex takes place in settings that are private, then I think in most cases, if a guy starts to do something iffy during sex, most women are going to be a little afraid when the guy starts to do some iffy shit during sex, okay? It's a thing that happens, okay? I understand Destiny's not a woman, okay? Destiny may be a girl's name, but doesn't mean Destiny's a girl unless he identifies as such, but he has not had the experience, neither have I, but he has not had the experience of being a woman in our society, okay? Or in our world, frankly, okay? Like, when you're a dude, and I've said this a million times, especially as a content creator, a dude's biggest fear when it comes to rape is being falsely accused of rape. A woman's biggest fear when it comes to rape is being the victim of rape. Don't get me wrong, being falsely accused of rape sucks. I'd rather be falsely accused of rape 100 times before I actually get raped, okay? I think women might have it a little bit harder in this respect than men.
Shot one bullet, dude. It's all over.
Okay, the Han stuff was not funny because he was crying because of sexual something, okay? That sucks, okay? We shouldn't make fun of him for it, okay? The only reason why it was funny is because he has some... he's just an interesting character, okay? Han's been involved with some kind of funny memes, okay? When he was dying of the fucking coronavirus and doing that debate, okay, that was just a very, very interesting thing to watch, okay? I'm sorry if that makes me a bad person, but that clip was just something else, okay? And then he's got the thing where he's like crying and watching the anime or whatever, so it's just funny. He's like a reputation of being like very emotional out of nowhere. It was just interesting. Now, like...
Okay, unironically, my favorite thing about Hans is that he's like fucking ripped and isn't afraid to be emotional, okay? Like, Hans is like physically, by every definition, a Chad, and yet he bucks every single, like, well, not every single, but he bucks some pretty significant toxic societal standards of men, and he doesn't give a fuck because look at him. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call Hans like not a real man? Really? You gonna call Hans of Arkir not a real man because he cried? Come on, Destiny. These are things we should encourage in our society for men to be a little bit more to open up a little bit more. He cries during chick flicks? Maybe, I don't know. Listen, okay. Media, like, I'm gonna be real here. The toxic masculinity aspects of society have absolutely affected me, okay? I cannot cry in front of anybody, okay? I can't cry in front of people. I can't cry publicly. Frankly, even when I'm in private, I try my best, even if something that makes me want to cry happens, I try my best not to cry. Because even alone, even totally alone, locked in my room, I feel like I'm judging myself for it, you know? Even when I was a kid, like an 8-year-old little boy, I was judging myself for crying in my room, locked in my room because I was sad about something. I'd be judging myself even when no one else is around. Crying feels so good, though. It does feel kind of good sometimes.
Should we make fun of him for talking about sex?
Also, by the way, I feel I should remind you, the thing that Destiny and his chat were laughing at was Hans describing his sexual assault. Hans was describing a guy that he was friends with literally sexually assaulting him, and Destiny's chat was spamming the Gachi Gazin emote and was laughing at him. Hans was literally talking about to Destiny in the chat during their debate the story about how he was sexually assaulted, and Destiny's chat started laughing at him about it live. That is insane to me. And it wasn't like Hans was just referencing his sexual assault. Hans was describing what happened. Hans was describing how it went from like being two friends on a couch to now my friend is sexually assaulting me, and went into enough detail that it should be uncomfortable, and the normal human response to that should be, damn, dude, holy fuck, I'm sorry. You know? Like, fuck. God. Someone sent me another clip. Of, oh yeah, this is the clip of the Hans and Destiny debate where the thing comes up here. Let's watch.
On here to say that drunk driving is okay. Now you're telling me all of a sudden you're going to pretend that drunk driving is bad? What do you like? It doesn't make any sense. Yes, I give people advice on how to deal with girls that are uncomfortable with certain their boundaries because that's what I would want to do. I want to maximize for that type of behavior. But that doesn't mean I'm going to turn around and assume that every single fucking girl. When I run into girls that do this shit, I never fuck them again because it's not worth my time. Because I feel like I'm raping a child. If I'm with some girl that's so fucking brain dead that she can't just say verbally like, "Hey, I'm okay with this" or "I'm not okay with this," I would never touch that person again. I would actually feel like I'm raping a kid. I don't know how anybody can be comfortable assuming that the other person in a two-way sexual interaction can't even verbalize a fucking boundary. That's outrageous to me. You should be able to say something. So yes, I do give advice for men who want to be nice and want to be gentle, want to be aware of the consent and all of that. That's cool. But that doesn't mean that I'm turning around and saying like, okay, women, now that I've given all that advice, I think if you're a woman, you should just lay there like a brain dead fucking dipshit, like a vegetable.
She did it.
Okay, so a really, really common thing that Destiny does is that so he did this during the Just Move drama, and he's doing it now, where he'll go on Twitter or he'll go on stream and he'll have an extraordinarily heated take, usually one that directs vitriol towards a group of people that he thinks less of. So a big example of this would be poor people, right? So like when he did the whole Just Move thing, he went on about how like if you're poor and you can't figure out how to move to a place to better live within your means, then you are just a dumb fuck. You should just lay down and die. I forget all of it, right? And then when actually confronted on it in voice, when talking to Vosh, his thing is then, oh, so what? I shouldn't give advice to poor people then? What, should I just tell them, oh, I'm so sorry, you should just be a socialist then? What, do I just not give them advice then? When in reality, nobody at all had a problem with Destiny giving poor people the advice of, hey, if you can't afford to live where you live now, maybe you should move. Because, you know, that's a pretty basic take. I don't think that's all that insightful coming from Destiny. The thing people had a problem with was his extraordinarily vitriolic attacks towards the people in question that certainly didn't deserve it. And that was the problem that people had with Destiny during the Just Move drama. It's the same problem that people have with him now. And he's doing the exact same fucking thing where he's walking it back. He's actually walking it back, just like the quartering. Ironically enough, you know how we call the quivering, the quartering, the quivering, because he walked back everything in his debate with Destiny? Ironically enough, Destiny's walking like a shit ton of that stuff back now. He's walking that back. He's literally saying now, what, am I just not supposed to give advice? Like, yeah, I tell men like how they should properly engage in sex and how to be careful with consent, and he does. Destiny has done a decent job in the past of telling men in his audience of how to engage with sexual encounters and how to like properly get consent and not be creepy and not be weird, and like just he's given that advice, and it's been decent advice in the past. The problem is women don't need advice on how not to get raped or sexually assaulted. Okay? It's like okay. All right. Like most women live in enough fear on a daily basis to know how best they can realistically avoid getting raped or sexually assaulted. Okay? For the most part, okay? That you know, you can still give the advice. No one's going to shit talk you for giving the advice, though it's somewhat unneeded, but sure, give the advice. The problem everybody has here with you, though, Destiny, isn't that you were giving advice on how to deal with, like, stealthing. If you were saying, hey, here's how you can deal with stealthing, that would be one thing. The problem is that you were levying personal attacks towards the victim of sexual assault because you're mad. That's really it.
Watch because you might freeze up.
She didn't do that. You're literally treating her like she has done nothing to preempt or avoid that sort of thing. Like
she said she was awkward and it happened 3 times.
She said she's been stealth 3 times in her life. Damn. That must be all her fault then. Damn. 3 whole times in her life. How old is she, by the way? I'm pretty sure she had her age in her bio, and it's not like she was like 20 or anything from what I remember. Like, I think so. Like, I don't like to be stealth 3 times in your life as a woman is not like a unusual thing. Like, This is, and I want to be so fucking clear here. I am not making any excuses for Destiny here, okay? Destiny is 100,000,000% in the wrong on this, okay? Because sometimes I feel like when I talk about drama that Destiny's involved in, there's at least like a shred of truth to what he's saying, but he takes it way too far every fucking time. So it always feels like when I want to say, okay, so he's got like kind of a point, it always feels like I'm defending his insane behavior. But here, it doesn't even feel like he has that kind of a point. There's nothing to defend him here on other than like maybe, sure, I guess advice is fine. You know, that's like the only thing he has a point on here is, sure, I guess advice is okay. But other than that, like, he's literally just he is doing victim blaming. He is.
He can be comfortable and then uncomfortable. So then my question
I
is,
wouldn't be comfortable. If it's the first time interaction with somebody, why would I trust this person?
And then so what you're saying is every person should be like 100% ready, willing, and capable when someone like does something that they don't like sexually to be able to like
to verbally assert a boundary. Yes, and if you're not, you should not.
And and then again, what happens? Because you know there's other stuff tied to this. What happens if that conversation goes negatively?
Then you get raped. But you were going to get raped either way.
Do you think there's a difference between the rape you might sustain by fighting back and the rape that you might sustain by not fighting back in the mind of someone who's terrified and being raped? Because what would be going through my mind if I was being raped as a woman would be like, holy fuck, if I don't pretend like I'm into this, am I going to get murdered after this? Am I going to be like dead in a ditch tomorrow? Like, is that what's going to happen to me if I like tell this guy to stop? Could that be what ends up happening here? She didn't even know at the time, so it's irrelevant to the situation. Lonnie keeps telling me this, though we can't find any tweets or screenshots of it, but apparently the person in question came out and said she didn't know she'd been stealthed until after sex. So basically, she didn't know it was happening during the moment, apparently. Apparently it happened afterward, or maybe, well, by the wording of the tweet that she gave there, I can understand how it could be misinterpreted, where she said at the time she felt too awkward to speak, but that very well could have been like when she realized that he'd slipped off the condom and they'd finished having sex, she was too awkward to say anything because they'd already finished having sex and she didn't notice it. That's what she claimed on Twitter afterwards. Regardless, though, she didn't even need to, okay? She didn't need to claim that. That entire caveat, that entire like clarification even, isn't even necessary. All it does is point out even further how in the wrong Destiny is. Because not only, even with all the information that Destiny had, not only then was he in the wrong, but not only that, he didn't even do his due diligence to like figure out the rest of the story. And to like maybe wait a minute before like dogpiling this random person he's got no business dogpiling. There's a clip I saw of Hans reading the tweet. Oh, maybe it'll come up in this tweet thread.
Wait, you're telling me that there's a guy on top of you and you're like, hey, I don't like that. And he's like, I don't care. I'm here to fucking rape you. Giga Chad. Then you're fucked anyway. I mean, what do you?
Well, they can also fucking kill you. They can no. They can literally fucking kill you. You know that's different. You know, like if you're getting fucking raped and you start like fighting back, they might just fucking kill you. Seriously.
You're talking about an exceptionally rare circumstance of a guy fucking like violently raping a woman and then being willing to kill her afterwards. This is like you're in a 1% of a 1% circumstance.
Yeah.
Chat. Plane crashes are extraordinarily rare. Like actual big planes, like the ones like a actual like Delta Airlines or like fucking some mainstream big airline plane. Those things like never fucking crash. Like statistically, you are so much safer in a plane than you are in a car. Car crashes happen all the fucking time. Okay. Plane crashes, there are a shit ton of planes flying literally every single day, and when a big plane crashes, you hear about it. That's how rare it is, okay? That's how rare and big a deal it is when a plane crashes. You are so much safer on a plane, and yet, we're all fucking terrified, or at least I am. I'm fucking terrified of flying. My palms are sweating, and I'm scared that every time there's at least a little bit of turbulence, I'm like, I'm scared as shit. Even though deep down I know this plane's not going to crash because this plane has literally probably flown 1 million flights before this and will fly 1 million flights later. I know this plane isn't going to crash. You're probably statistically safer on a plane than walking somewhere. Yeah, you're probably right, George Popsy. You're probably statistically safer on a plane than walking through the streets of New York City. I'd be willing to bet. And yet I'd imagine most people feel safer walking through the streets of New York City than they do on a plane. Because planes are scary, and sometimes the human psychology can be especially in a traumatic or scary situation, a little bit illogical, you know? Like, there's a reason why we don't say, like, why didn't the kids in the school shooting, why didn't they all just, like, zerg the school shooter, you know? There's a reason why we don't say, like, when there's a shooting, why didn't all the people just zerg the shooter? Don't they all know that if all of them ran at the shooter at once, the shooter would obviously get taken down and would only be able to shoot a few of them at most? Like, don't they know that's the safest and best thing to do there? Like, obviously that's not the safest and best thing to do there, because everybody is scared for their fucking life in a situation like that. Just because something is rare and isn't common doesn't mean that it's not a very real fear that people have, especially when it comes to the fear of rape and murder for women in this country, especially when it comes to rape and murder of sex workers in this country, because the person in question who this drama all started out in regards to was a sex worker. The person this drama is referring to is a sex worker. The person Destiny is saying probably should stop having sex is a sex worker. All I know is she's got OnlyFans nearby. I don't know if she does any like full-time bullshit or whatever, but like we're referring to somebody who does sex work, okay? Like, come on. This is clearly somebody who knows more about consent than the average person, all right? With all of that said, I must admit, I'm quite winded now, and I feel like I've gotten my thoughts out on the subject. To be very clear here, though, I'm not triggered, okay? I'm not triggered. I'm not, like, offended by what Destiny is saying here. I'm not a woman. I've never been raped. I'm not particularly close to, right now, anybody that I know who, at least as far as I know, who has been raped, as far as I know. Like, does it upset me that Destiny's engaging in this behavior? Yes. But what offends me the most, really, is the stupidity. Is the fact that, like, I know Destiny knows better than this, because he's literally the one who like bread pilled me on the concept of women being too afraid to say no in the first place. Back when I was like a shithead, like teenager or whatever, I didn't understand the concept that like a woman could possibly be too afraid to say no. That was an idea that like never even came to me, because as a dude, you never really think about the fact that, like, for the most part, you never really think about the fact that like you could be a pretty high target for a certain, like, as a woman, you're thinking about all the time, like, how high of a target you could be for a potentially violent individual for all sorts of different things, from, like, violent crime to sexual crime to just robbing and mugging and stuff like that. Like, that's always a concern that women tend to have, like, at the back of their mind to some degree, right? It's always there, okay? It's not, like, a thing that goes away. I wasn't around when he was respected, so it's easy for me to call him a gutless cunt. He was the one who bread pilled me on that. The example that he used was like a boss asking out a female employee. Before that, like, example that he used, you could not have gotten a word out of me on how a male, like, for example, a male boss asking a female employee out on a date could be a problem. You could not have gotten a thing from me on that. It was Destiny, of all people, who explained to my dumbass teenage self that, well, there are certain circumstances where, like, one individual holds like, more power than the other, and even though there might not be an obvious threat or implication being made, the implication can still exist. Okay? As a matter of fact, I feel like the only way to finish off this segment responsibly is by showing the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the implication clip. Sometimes she's not gonna say no, even though she wants to say no, because of the implication. What is the implication of taking your condom off mid-sex? If it's already been established prior, you better use a condom, buddy. What is the implication of that? The implication is, I don't give a shit about your consent. And if you've just been alerted to the fact that the individual you are currently having a meat rod inserted inside of you by, the individual who is statistically probably significantly larger than you, and you are alone probably, most sex tends to happen in a private area, then yeah, sometimes she may want to say no, but doesn't say no because of the implication.